Coming. What is up, everybody? We welcoming you to SportsShack episode 41. My name is Brandon Gerard Natali, along with Denis, Christopher, Jack, Youngblood, Tui.
Yeah,
His reference to we were talking about before we just went on the air. A lot going on in the sports world, especially obviously basketball. I was just watching First Take. They were talking about Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks. Could this be LeBron's last year in Los Angeles? And the Mets have been making some moves over the past week. I think a week or two ago, everyone was calling for David Stearns' head, wanting him to get fired. I was not one of those people. I don't think I was. I like to think I wasn't. I wasn't one of the people in the comment sections that were. I don't know if you saw that they were they would keep posting like a picture and it said "Fire David Stearns." That wasn't me. So shout out to them. First off, getting Freddie Peralta. We're going to dive into that. And obviously, it's championship weekend in the NFL. The Broncos and the Patriots face off in Denver at 3 o'clock. That's AFC Championship. And then the NFC at night at 6:30 is the Seattle Seahawks against the Los Angeles Rams. Now, the Rams are going to travel to Seattle, Lumen Field, one of the biggest, if not loudest, stadiums in the world. Scary for anybody to play there. Heck, I wouldn't be able to play there. That's just me. But a lot going on right now, and I feel like today's a good day to do it. It sucks we couldn't actually have a former Old Westbury alum and Eastern Observer alum with us too. Maybe we'll get him another time. I'm sure he's just busy.
Good friend, yeah.
But we did have a good time though with him at the Nets game versus the Suns. So that was a good time. Oh, wait, hold on one second. But real quick, though, I do want to elaborate. What do you think on potentially LeBron could be playing his last season with the Lakers, and could he go to Cleveland?
I don't know. Like, I don't know. I get it basically from everybody because they want younger talent there, and he's at a stage in his career where he can't really play back-to-backs the way he used to. Like, there's little things here, and it is what it is. Like, it's so be it.
Okay.
Like, I really don't think it's like a huge deal if it is his last year in the Lakers. Like, I don't think if he retires tomorrow, I don't think he's going to be remembered as a Laker. He's going to be remembered probably as a Cavs or Miami Heat.
Do you think he should go back for maybe a season with Cleveland?
I don't know if Cleveland wants him. I know that sounds crazy at first glance, but like their team's good.
Right. Like, is there any room for him?
I mean,
kind of been living
and if he was playing there, he would have to accept the fact that like you're going to be scoring like 8 points a game, and you're just going to be basically a point guard, just passing the ball around and rebounding. I mean, I think he would fit, and I think if he was a free agent, I could see it happening, but like a trade or something like that, never happen. That's he would have to take like a veteran's minimum too, which I don't know if he would want to take a pay cut. Yes, he has so much money off the court, but he's never taken pay cuts throughout his career. Never substantial pay cuts.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, it sucks. It looks like it's harder than they thought. Maybe he's going to have to find a way to retire for a year and then probably come out. Just get out of the contract. But if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. So if he just happens to retire in total, then so be it, But there's probably going to be a lot of talk in your offseason. I know it's only January, so a lot to still figure out.
And they're a good team, the Lakers, this year. They could win the championship. I mean, when you really think about it, the only team that I think they're substantially behind in the West, is the Thunder. Like, if they find a way to avoid them in the playoffs, like, yeah, it's anybody's game. I feel that way about Phoenix too. If we avoid the Thunder, I like our odds against anybody. So, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I know there's been a lot going on with the Lakers and just the NBA in total. A lot going on within the Knicks as well, within our home court. I know we recently just went to the Brooklyn Nets game versus the Phoenix Suns. I didn't realize how good Dylan Brooks was. And I know you've been telling me that he's kind of been the reason why they kind of been off to the start they've been, even without D-Book. And I know my friend in the gym was telling me that they don't have now, tell me if I'm saying this wrong. No, not Danny Green.
Jalen Green?
Jalen Green, yes.
Yeah, he's missed some time. When he's played, he's done very well for us. Originally, they took him. Everybody in like Suns fandom thought they were taking him just to be a trade piece later on, but he's actually been pretty good off the bench at times for us. I think they were expecting him to start more than he is, but Connor Gillespie has just been so good as a point guard, and it's exactly what we needed. That I don't know, like a off the bench combo guard for Jalen Green, like a combo guard, like small forward kind of player. That's fine. That's a good role for him. Alongside Grayson Allen, that's a really good bench unit. So I'm with it. Like whatever they're doing at this point, like it's working. It's working. Don't listen to me and the fans. Just keep doing what's working because we are way above what we were expected to be doing this year. They expected the Suns to be one of the worst teams in the West. Instead, we're currently at the 6th seed, and the teams we're ahead of, barring some absolute catastrophic injuries, I don't see that we are going to fall below the level of the Clippers and out of the playoffs completely.
Yeah, no, I mean, just after watching, because I know we were at the Barclays Center, obviously with our boy Nicholas File. First off, the Barclays, I don't know, I do want to dive into that. It's a very underrated venue, in my opinion. I've actually, within the past 7 years, I've only been there one time. But over the past like 6 months, I've been there 3 times, like for concerts or for the Nets. It's a really underrated venue, honestly. It gets a lot of hate, but I want to dive into that a couple after this. But in terms of the Suns, they played a great performance. Like I said, great ball movement, making their shots, definitely defending. Definitely getting a lot of rebounds. Ball movement was great. I know. I mean, you were talking about that. So, and just making contested shots. Drawing fouls. So no matter what, the Suns were playing, up to par, like you said. Supposed to be one of the worst teams in the league now. They're the 6th seed. And again, obviously Dylan Brooks, I know he's known for being a troll. But I think obviously seeing what, like obviously how he played, to be almost at 30 points, he was making threes, passing the ball around, scoring good defense. Like he was showing up. So Suns look good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what'd you think of the Barclays Center?
It's okay. I gotta say, like I'm 6'4.5", not big boy friendly. The Barclays Center.
I guess yep, I could understand that.
It is, the seating is tight.
Yeah, it's very tight.
Tight.
That is my one knock on it. I agree because like you say, and I forgot. I know Nicholas said it pretty good. Like if you're at a concert and you're up and you're like you're jamming, you're singing along with the artists that you're seeing. Like you take one step forward, you could fall into the other people in front of you. That's scary. It's like even if you're trying to move past, like you're trying to, like when people get up and they're walking, trying to get to the seats, and you have to, like I remember one person was saying that too. Like, one person almost fell, like, and they felt bad. They were stepping on my foot. Like, hey, I get it. You don't have to apologize to me, but I see what you mean.
What I will say is it looks cool when it's completely filled. Like when we went to Lincoln Park and it was filled, and because it was so steep, it looked cool. But again, I was not the biggest fan. That being said, excellent Bavarian pretzel. I had a Brooklyn beer, good.
Yeah.
Always like those.
Okay.
The wings, I got the boneless wings. I don't. You had to run with the wings. The boneless wings, they were good, but they were just a little cold. The fries, though, top notch.
At first, it kind of.
And in the past, got popcorn there, great popcorn.
Yeah, and credit to the I'm going to show it quick actually. Since I'm coming, I don't know if Sean. Hopefully Sean's still in here. Sean, let me know if you're still in here. Since they had the silent, we walked past the silent auction, and I was able to snag this signed Mookie Wilson, authenticated and legit. And at first I didn't think I was gonna compete for it, because you remember all luck with the silent auctions. The one time I went to the fundraiser for Evan Roberts. We didn't have any luck with that, but I figured I'd try it. I'm the Mets fan that I am. It looked really sick, really cool. It definitely was authenticated. I remember I asked him, I said, like, how, like, and he's like, oh, yeah, it's legit. We do stuff with, like he said, like, we do a lot of events with Mookie all the time. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate you listening. So, yeah, like, and I trust it. And I look at it, obviously, it's definitely looks legit. And I trust it. And it also was, the money was going to the Brooklyn Nets Foundation. So I doubt the Nets would let fake vendors or, like, memorabilia people in which try selling fake merch, or else I would have had to get Cooper. And obviously Sean and I know Dennis get that reference too. But either way, so I thought that was cool. So I don't know. I like the Barclays. I thought it was it's a really nice venue, not hard to get to. Well, if you're taking the train, but overall, the Nets. Obviously, I know they're not one of the best teams, but I know last night's game against the Knicks said otherwise too. And boy, if the Knicks needed a game to get back on track, man, was that the game to do it? Especially I think it was the biggest margin of win in the history of at the Garden, if I'm correct. Or
I didn't see that because I was working. I closed last night at my job, so I didn't see that.
Yeah,
but I saw they won big.
Yeah, it was really, really big. No, Carl Anthony Towns had a good game. Brunson had 20 points. So before that, they lost 9 out of their past 11 games. So last night's game, was a huge. I think the Nets only scored like in the 60s, like below 70 points. That's
got
brutal.
66 points.
Yeah, that's brutal.
They looked good Monday night. So I honestly expected it to be closer for the Knicks. I was expecting.
Yeah, they did look good because they only lost to the Suns by 9 points.
With the way the Knicks have been playing and the way the Nets have been playing, I actually expected the Nets to maybe upset them.
I would have thought it would have been more of a
at least
competitive game. Am I wrong? I would have thought it would have been more competitive in that aspect. I guess not.
I listen. A lot of people who, in my opinion, just don't know ball have been criticizing the coaching of the Knicks, and a lot of it is you can tell, and you see this a lot of time with teams that go deep into playoff runs. You can tell this team knows they're in a joke of a conference and they are playing for June. They don't care. They're not going when the games get tighter. They put in a little more effort, but if the game is out of reach, a lot of times you see the Knicks kind of check out. They've been doing that a lot lately, and when you can see when they have to go pedal to the metal, they can do it. They can do it well. So this is good. A good get right for them, hopefully.
Yeah, and that's all I can really think of in terms of basketball. Anything else that comes to mind, or
not currently? I'm trying to think if we missed anything. But did we talk about the Trae Young trade here? I think we did. Yeah, we did. That was a couple weeks ago, anyway.
I think it was a couple weeks ago.
This is actually kind of a bummer news, but Jimmy Butler tore his ACL.
He did tear his ACL, yes.
He's getting up there in age. I think this could be it.
Really?
That's kind of the thinking. A lot of fans kind of are thinking that this is it. It hasn't been said or anything like that by the main media, but a lot of fans are thinking this is probably it. And he's one of my all-time favorite players.
Right, 100%. It's you hate to see it, especially I did see the video when he first did it. It sucks. You hate to see injuries like that. It's pretty common too. Obviously, Achilles injuries, ACLs. I don't know why they're just very common in today's modern sports world, sports era, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what it is.
I have a few theories on that, but nothing of note. I think if you see how lean these athletes are now, their bodies don't have the torque. They don't have the give. But I'm not a scientist. That's just me noticing, just seeing how the visual look. Yeah, stutter a few more times, will you? The visual look of the the athletes have changed so much over time. And I just feel like that there's got to be something there. Because you're not seeing this in other avenues. You're not seeing this in pro wrestling. Uptick in injuries, but nothing substantial. You would think with modern sports medicine, it should be going the other way. And instead it's not. Now, I don't know if it's because a lot of the day-to-day stuff, the intensity has dialed back, or maybe the opposite, because sports medicine is so readily available, it's dialed up to get peak performance. I don't know, but it's basketball, like torn ACLs and things like that, I think are just fluke injuries.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah.
It sucks. Okay. It sucks, man. Hopefully he gets well, and hopefully he comes back, better than ever. But it's not looking great.
Yeah, but so hopefully Jimmy Butler can come back. We'll see if this is it for him. What a great career. But we can't say anything on that yet. We don't know. So for now, we just obviously just take only take what we hear with a grain of salt, and obviously just hope for the best for him. And like I said, obviously whatever happens to him in his career, hopefully he has a good recovery. And I guess we'll take it from there. Now, in terms of the MLB, there's been a lot going on. So, I mean, there's so much we can go on about, whether it's Kyle Tucker and the Dodgers, the Mets are Freddie Peralta, obviously them getting Bo Bichette, Yankees getting Cody Bellinger back. Shout out to them. That was a great signing. Everybody's been telling Cashman to wake up from his sleep. He's been slumping. And, credit to how I feel like they keep on to Brian Cashman pretty decently. Like, if you fire him, who else are you going to have? Am I wrong?
You know what it is with Brian Cashman? For all the people that call for Brian Cashman's head, and at times I've been one of them, who are you going to replace him with? And I think that's the big decision with coaches, GMs, whatever, even in your day-to-day job. Like, who are you going to replace them with? And the thing with Brian Cashman is that the Yankees have not had high draft picks. And yes, they're the Yankees. They should be buying these free agents and whatnot. But I mean, like, there's kind of levels to it. I feel like Yankee fans have kind of misremembered a lot. That a lot of those huge free agent signings the Yankees did backfired horrifically in the 80s and 90s, early 90s. It was drafting that got them to where they got in the late 90s and into the 2000s, right? They drafted Bernie Williams. They drafted Don Mattingly back in, I guess, the 70s, but he came up in the 80s. They drafted Jeter, Posada, Pettit, Mariano Rivera. Williams. When they brought in Paul O'Neill, Paul O'Neill was a very good player, but it wasn't like Paul O'Neill was like an MVP. So like going after the huge names is something the Yankees did, but going after the huge names, a lot of times they did it past their players' primes, and a lot of times it backfired.
Yeah.
So I actually don't mind them kind of doing things around the margins a little more, spreading it out. I'm okay with that, especially now that you're in an era where there's teams like the Dodgers that owners are worth total $400 billion. That you can't just throw money at your problems and solve them. You have to be a little more reasonable. So I thought bringing back Cody Bellinger was good. Aside from that, though, and even some people have killed the Trent Grisham re-signing. I don't think they expected him to re-sign. They gave him a qualifying offer. I think that they expected him and his agent to decline it. And then if another team signed Trent Grisham, they would have to forfeit a draft pick to the Yankees. Right. This is so common, but it's very rare that players actually accept the initial qualifying offer, especially coming off of a career best like Trent Grisham did. But even then, is having somebody like Trent Grisham who you can move at the trade deadline, if that's your consolation price, that's not so bad. What the Yankees really need to address now, we need a bullpen. We lost Luke Weaver, whatever you want to say about Luke Weaver. We lost him. We lost Devin Williams. Whatever you want to say about Devin Williams, we lost. Who's going to be closing games? I suspect that we're going to be seeing Luis Gil in the bullpen quite a bit. And I suspect that we might see Ryan Weathers, who we got from the Marlins, in the bullpen. But they haven't really said anything like that. That's just me kind of figuring out, like, all right, there's only so many spots in musical chairs and someone's going to be left without one. I think that's what's going to happen. Luis Gil has a bit of a control problem, so his pitch counts get high. But if you could just maximize every pitch as the closer role, that gets lessened. And I think that's probably what they should do. I don't know
Okay.
if they will do it, but I think that's where they're going to go. But we need to address the bullpen. Again, like 3 years in a row now, our bullpen is in question. And this is new for Yankee fans who have had dominant bullpens since the 70s.
This is what Sean Flanagan 1432 said.
Okay, Ryan Weathers and Heel could be nice arms in the pen. First of all, thank you for listening and watching, Sean. Second, yeah, I just, to me, it's just it's a simple fix to a problem for now. I would like to bring in more established relievers, but all the really established relievers I would want seem to have gone already. Most notably, Edwin Diaz.
Yeah, oh, don't get me started on that. You can thank the Dodgers for that.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
you guys got screwed, but
not. I think, like you said, everything with first off, like to go date back to the Cashman talk. Like you said, like if they fire him, who are they going to replace? Like I feel like, I mean, you guys have been consistent. You guys have been in the playoffs, so it's like I guess the way how things sit. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the fact that the history he has with the Yankees, not to say he's kind of the Yankee guy, but I feel like he kind of is. Meaning like he's already set in stone in that, and that's really rare in sports. Really rare. But like I said, but I think Cashman did a good job signing back, Belly. I think that was inevitable. I like how the deal is kind of framed. I like how it's kind of framed where you have him not only for this year, but you have him for next year. So it's like essentially a 2-year deal in a way, unless he opts back in the deal. It's still a great deal. 5 years, 162 million. Great deal. And obviously he was just meant to play in Yankee Stadium. Yankee Stadium is just, it fitted well for Cody Bellinger, and he could play multiple positions. So the fact that he can play there, that was already, right there, signed, sealed, delivered, and he was yours. Would have been cool to see the Mets get him as well, but obviously Luis Robert seemed to be the better, fit. We'll dive into that in a bit, but like I said, with Cody Bellinger, hey, just great signing by you guys. Yes, you guys did lose Devin Williams. You guys did lose Luke Weaver, but I think what you said was just great scenarios with Luis Gill and Ryan Weathers. But obviously, who's out there really for you guys to sign? I think you guys should do some extra homework and finding out, just adding on extra depth into the bullpen just to see if it's going to help you guys because, 162 games, it's a lot of games. And so, I feel like it would be a lot to just rely on all these just pitchers right now. Like I think Cashman needs to figure out some way to add some more depth to the bullpen, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see what Sean F just said. He just get us another comment. At least Weathers can be a long reliever. Gill makes sense as a back end guy. Great fastball, slider changeup. Makes a little wild, but what a closer is nowadays. Has nasty stuff. I like it. I do agree. Gill, I know he was injured for a lot of last year, if I'm correct. And when he did show out, he had some nasty stuff. He was definitely someone that teams would have to worry about, have the game plan around, how to hit, and just how to get, how to break him so he won't blast 6 innings, if not the whole game. So, one thing I love about Sean that we know is that he's definitely an expert on the game, and he knows definitely. If I had to hire him as a pitching coach, I would, because I know he knows. I feel like almost every pitcher in terms of what they pitch and what stuff they have and what they don't have. So, but do you agree with Sean?
I do, and I what I like about Luis Gil being like the closer if they decide to go this route. And again, I haven't really seen that being reported. Just more so like me and my buddies at work saying like, how do we solve these problems with what we have? I think there's severely like an overcorrection in the market when it comes to bullpen guys. Like years ago, you used to have somebody like Goose Gossage come in 7, 8, 9 innings, right? That's it. And then it's changed, I guess, really around the 90s where you kind of had like some bullpens that were like bullpen by committee. We saw this with the 1990 Reds that won the World Series, right? When they had Norm Charlton, Rob Dibble, and Randy Myers. And now it's like each inning is like your high leverage guy and stuff like that. And I think that there's just such value, especially with the wonky extra inning rule that we have now in baseball. There's such value, so much value in a closer that can go 2 innings, ninth inning, and get me out of the 10th. And I'm going to bet on my guys to get that runner that starts at second across. Just give me the 9th and the 10th. And I think that there's some really good value in that, and having a starter, a legit starter, established starter, rookie of the year winning starter coming out of your pen.
Right.
And listen, it's worked for the Yankees before. Mariano Rivera.
Okay.
Right. I don't think the theory or thinking that relievers are quote unquote failed starters, which we see Hall of Fame voters say all the time, which grinds my gears.
That's another thing we got to talk about too.
But I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
but I don't really think, like, is it a problem to say so and so is a failed starter, or are they just a better reliever? Like, I don't think there's shame in that. Think of everybody in your own job. Like, if you, all right, you might be good in, accounting or something like that, but you might be a good idea guy that your company might want somewhere else if you're working for,
like
a business.
You might be good part-time, but not good full-time.
Right. Or you might be good, like, my job. They have me just do everything. I might be good at one part in the department store, but I might be better somewhere else. Like, it's fine. It's fine to do that, to work that way.
Like sometimes, if I wasn't good at the deli, they would put me on the register, or they're not good at the register, I'd be at the deli.
Yeah. Like, I don't think there's shame in that.
Okay.
So I want them to do it. I don't know if they will. And again, I don't know what relievers are really left worth, like, getting excited for. It's like, all right, we'll see.
Yeah. You know what? I guess it's just all about adapting and surviving in this case. So, now I feel like that covers the Yankees definitely pretty intensely. First off, we definitely should talk about the Hall of Fame announcements in terms of Carlos Beltrán. I say Beltrán, people say Beltrán, but I always like saying Beltrán ever since I was a kid. And then, obviously I see the comment, we'll get to Sean's comment in a bit. And Andrew Jones made it, and Jeff Kent made it in too, from getting in from the committee. So obviously, shout out to those people. Carlos Beltrán. If he goes in as a Met, he'll be. I thought the Mets had more Hall of Famers, but he's going to be the third Met to get inducted into Hall of Fame, behind Tom Seaver and obviously Mike Piazza. I remember Carlos Beltrán.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mean inducted as a Met?
As a Met.
Okay.
I thought there would be more. I thought there'd be more as a Met, but I was wrong. Like, I thought maybe Jerry Koosman.
There was a rule. There was a rule about this because it came out after Gary Carter got inducted, because Gary Carter wanted to be inducted as a Met, but they made him inducted as an Expo.
Because he spent the most years?
Yeah.
Right. And you can count him if you want. I mean, I feel like if I had to say some Mets right now that should be in the Hall of Fame, I feel like you probably definitely Doc Gooden.
He's interesting.
It is definitely an interesting case.
Because Doc Gooden's one of those, like, if he's in, then what's the argument for Fernando Valenzuela not being in?
Right.
And it's like a lot of those kinds of conversations, because for some reason people in this world just refuse to look at things in a vacuum, and everything has to be some grandiose whatever.
I feel like Keith Fernandez would be another Met I would vote in.
Yeah, that one pisses me off.
But I feel like he had more years for the Cardinals. Like, I know he had he had a great impact with them as well.
He's the Met. I mean, come on. I know he won his MVP with the Cardinals, but come on. He's a Met. He was the best player on their championship team.
SNY broadcaster, color commentator.
Right. Come on.
So, yeah, but either way. So back to the current, but Carlos Beltrán, obviously, what a phenomenal hitter, generational, especially for the era that he played in. I remember free agent signing coming over from Houston, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
It was Houston. Or was it the Kansas City?
He might have been in Kansas City. I'll double check that for you, but go off.
I believe it was Houston he came over because I remember he had a great playoff run and obviously signing the big free agent deal. And I know, shocking, the Mets signed a free agent deal at that time, especially. And I think he actually did play a season with Piazza in a way. Obviously, it's a shame that he's known for what happened in 2006, the NLCS, that look, that the no swing look. What's that?
I'm just looking. I kind of forgot Beltrán was this good. But you were right. I was wrong. He was traded in 2004 from the Royals to the Houston, and then 2005 he went to the Mets.
He went to the Mets, right? So I mean, but either way, he started a phenomenal career for the Mets. Great hitter, and and then obviously, playing down the line, he did play for the Yankees. He made a World Series with the Cardinals, and then he won the World Series in 2017. Now, of course, the sign stealing scandal, I think everybody can admit that definitely ruined his reputation for a bit, but everybody can admit that he did pay his dues. He did he did pay his punishment. Now it's rightfully so. He's deserving of getting in the Hall of Fame.
There is one player on the 2017 Houston Astros that saw any sort of punishment, and that's Carlos Beltrán, and that's complete BS.
Wait. Say it again.
There is one player on the 2017 Astros who faced any sort of punishment, and that was Carlos Beltrán. He lost his job at the Mets because
lost his job at the Mets. Yep.
No other player had any sort of repercussion outside of fan backlash. Two totally different things. I can hate you, but I can't F with you. They could F with Carlos Beltrán because he wasn't protected by the union anymore. So when it came out that every single person had negative things to say about him, despite nobody else in his career ever having those things to say about him, kind of makes you think. So for the first, I still have the baseball reference up. For the first 19 years of his career, he wasn't cheating, but this 1 year he was. Give me a break. Come on. That's complete nonsense. People that are saying, oh, he's in, but Manny Ramirez isn't. Stop it. You know me. There is, Lord, if I die, there is one less Astro hater in the world. If I'm the only person left on Earth, 100% of people on Earth hate the Astros. Okay? You know what I mean?
The Astros are not the no.
Come on. Like, people hating on Beltrán, ridiculous. So, like, complete, like, you're a Neanderthal. You're a Neanderthal. I'd rather talk to Gleek the monkey.
Well, Gleek the monkey is the theme of the day. I know it's, but yeah, I think he's definitely deserving of getting in, though. Like I said, a lot of people came to the agreement that he paid his dues. It did enough damage to him, but like now it's time we rightfully induct him into the Hall of Fame, and I think it's great that he's going in as a Met. And obviously now, even though he lost his managerial job for the Mets, but he eventually, I think he's an advisor now for them. So he has some influence on the Mets, right now. And so, like I said, power hitter, leader, definitely, one of the best contact hitters, a great fielder too, as well. Who can forget about that play against Houston? That's one of the, when I think of him as in terms of defender, that's one of the first things I think of. And, just the influence he had on teams, just, phenomenal. So, it was inevitable he was going to get in. So, shout out to him. And can you tell me about Andrew Jones?
Well, real quick with Carlos Beltrán, if I'm not mistaken, he also has the most home runs by a switch hitter.
I wouldn't be shocked at that, no.
No, I'm sorry. Second behind Mickey Mantle. Mickey Mantle has 536.
Okay.
And actually... Yeah, and Eddie Murray has more than him too, and maybe Chipper Jones. But still, regardless, Eddie Murray, Chipper Jones, Inner Circle Hall of Famers. He would have been first ballot regardless.
Right.
So, Andrew Jones, really good player, and I feel like somebody oftentimes kind of got forgotten about because he was center field in a time where Ken Griffey Jr. was all the rage, and Jim Edmonds was all the rage, and other guys may have been better at their peaks than Andrew Jones. But Andrew Jones was a little more consistent, at least in like somebody like Jim Edmonds or Brady Anderson for 10 years. The problem with him is the drop-off when he became 31 is absurd. So we're just going through wins above replacement, not my favorite stat, but just for simplicity here. He's 19. He has a .1 WAR season as a rookie, 31 games. His first full year, 20 years old, 3.3 WAR, then 7.4, 7.1, 8.2, 4.9, 6.5, 4.9, 3.2, 6.7, 5.6, 3. He leaves the Braves, goes to the Dodgers, and for the rest of his career, he's just mediocre at best. He has an OPS in 75 games in 08 for the Dodgers of a whopping 35. 100 is league average. By far the worst of his career. He goes to the Rangers the next year, exactly league average with OPS at 100, but bats .214 with a .3 WAR. He starts slowing down. He was a defensive wizard in center field. The age is catching up to him in that regard. and he's just never that good again. He had one kind of decent year with the Yankees in 2011. He was like okay by OPS plus, but aside from that, nothing really worth of note. He was a corner outfielder and DH at that point in his career.
Okay.
And just falling off the cliff hurts him. Now, the accolades are there. He was the National League Ken Griffey Jr. throughout the 90s, right? Before Ken Griffey went to the Reds. 5 All-Stars, 10-time Gold Glover, Silver Slugger. So all those years that I was saying, all his like peak years, every single one of those years he won a Gold Glove.
He didn't reach 2,000 hits though. But I mean,
no, and that's the thing that hurts him. He played from age 20 to age 34.
right.
So a lot of the counting stats work against him. And I didn't think about this. I was hoping he'd be on today. We couldn't get our special guest, Nick File, who we've done a lot of work with over the years, and our buddy who we went to the Nets game. Nick brought up a really good point.
That was
everybody's saying this was when we were on Pastimes. I think we were talking about this, or it might have been on Bad in the Chat. If Andrew Jones is in the Hall of Fame, then why isn't Torrey Hunter? Because Torrey Hunter is the inverse. Torrey Hunter is an excellent career, but just an okay peak. And the more he said it, he won me over. And when we were doing because you can only have 10 people on the Hall of Fame ballot, which I disagree with. If you're a Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer. You shouldn't be limited. Because now you have a bunch of random votes because some guy was a friend of yours or whatever, and you wanted him to get at least give him a vote. And I'm just against it. But the Torrey Hunter, if you do the side-by-side comparison, it's really interesting because it actually evens out. You think Andrew Jones is way better than Torrey Hunter, but Torrey Hunter's career might have been better. And he's getting no love on the Hall of Fame ballot. And if you bring up Torrey Hunter being a Hall of Famer, people look at you like you have 10 heads. And yet, when you think of excellent center fielders in the 2000s, you're going to think of Torrey Hunter before you think of Andrew Jones. At least I do, because Spider-Man and all the insane catches Torrey Hunter had made over the years. And it's just fascinating. 2 guys in the same era, and one's a complete inverse of the other, and yet one is in the Hall of Fame, the other's on the same ballot and struggling to even stay on. I don't even know if Hunter is still on the ballot anymore after this year. But yeah, he's another one. For Torrey Hunter fans, 5-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger, 9-time Gold Glove winner. I thought he had way more All-Stars than that, but I digress. I think kind of what hurt him was he was a bit of a vagabond late in his career. Minnesota, and then the Angels, then Detroit, and then back to the Twins, that he kind of got lost in the shuffle late in his career. But yeah, fascinating. At least I think so. And I was surprised by some of the people who didn't get in this year. I was happy to see that Andy Pettitte is steadily getting votes, but I'm surprised Chase Utley didn't get it.
Sorry, that was not Ian Rappaport. That was calling in. That was not some breaking. Even I did watch it when Sean McDermott got fired. A lot to talk about the show, but I hope Sean F is still in here. Sean, obviously, let us know if you're still in here listening. I feel like we can go on more, but either way, I know Chase. First off, as a Mets fan, I can only say so much on here, but screw Chase Utley. I have to. Okay. Hopefully, one year David Wright can get in. I would be, because I feel like with Andrew Jones, I feel like they kind of had similar years. Hey, love you, Sean. 14 years, 17 years. I get it, but I feel like with David Wright, he's rightfully so. He should be a Hall of Famer. What he meant to the Mets franchise, the playing ability, what he did, the Gold Glove of defensive caliber play, the hitting, just the clutch, and just what he meant for the Mets organization. To me is a Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
I think there's 2 things working against David Wright.
And that
Dale
is
Murphy's not in, Don Mattingly's not in, and they're just better than David Wright, and very similar kind of trajectories, especially Don Mattingly. who won an MVP and maybe more than one MVP, but just the player of the 1980s isn't in. And David Wright is so similar in the fact that, like, they would have been a Hall of Famer if they didn't get hurt. You know it. And it's just like how much potential goes into being in the Hall of Fame. If he got in, I would have no issues with it. But I really think if Don Mattingly got in this year, because he was on the committee and he should have gotten in, if he got in, I think David Wright would have gotten in. I think a lot of voters think, and it's not me just being Yankee brained here, because I feel the same way with Dale Murphy.
No, I don't feel. I don't feel like I don't think there's some Yankee bias. No, I agree with Don Mattingly. Don Mattingly definitely. It sucks that obviously he missed a cutoff before that Yankee dynasty, and yes, I said the Yankee dynasty, but from the phenomenal at his position in the 80s and 90s, how helped set up that dynasty, and obviously MVP. I think that definitely hurts him not getting that ring, and he definitely should have got it this year if not for them stinking Dodgers. So he probably will get in someday from the committee, as you said, but so I guess that argument's going to hurt him. It sucks that, the fact that Dale Murphy and, like you said, Don Mattingly are not in. That's what's going to be against him. But he got a lot of votes though. 14.8. I think that was the percentage of votes. That's a decent amount. I think they said that he needed 5% to stay on the ballot. Well said. So if he doesn't get in from the ballot, I'm sure he'll probably get in from the committee one day, maybe. Now, would he go in as a Met?
David Wright?
No, I mean, obviously because he only played for them. But I'm saying, like, say it, but like with Jeff Kent, he only got voted in committee, but he's not going in as a Met. What's he like?
Well, I mean, because it depends on where you actually played. Like David Wright was only a Met, so he would have the Met cap.
Right. Stupid comment on me. But I'm saying, like Jeff Kent, like say he.
Who is he going with? The Giants, probably.
Is that what he had the most impact?
He won his MVP on the Giants.
But would they?
But I think if you asked him, I think he'd probably say Houston or the Dodgers. And I think they ask them now what you want to be remembered as. But I mean, his best years were with San Francisco, and I think he's from California, Jeff Kent, originally. So I don't know. The reason I know you guys are like, why does he know so much about Jeff Kent, this random player?
You love Jeff Kent because I remember we were talking about.
He was on Survivor when I was a kid. I thought it was the coolest thing that a former big league player and a former big league MVP was on my favorite TV show. He did good. He did, like, as far as celebrities go, I'd say Jimmy Johnson was fun TV, but he wasn't the best at the game. Him or Gary Hodgeboom, old 1970s and 80s quarterback. Gary Hodgeboom was great on Survivor.
Okay. But I feel like we talked about the Hall of Fame for a decent chunk. I definitely, I want to dive into it quick though, and then because obviously the Dodgers, obviously they made some headlines signing Kyle Tucker to that big 4-year, 220 or is it 240 million? It's one or the other, either way.
40.
And I believe he has an opt out after his second year. So, but either way, it's definitely made some headlines around, not just around the baseball league, but I feel like around the world, because everyone's saying, why are the Dodgers getting these players? Like so many. And I feel like it made the lockout now inevitable at this point. No quote on Thanos. Screw Thanos. And obviously, the Mets were in on him, and and I know Sean he yelled at me in the chat the other day, like a couple weeks ago when they first signed him. But I would have loved Kyle Tucker. Don't get me wrong, but I think the Mets dodged a bullet. And I'm not saying Kyle Tucker's not elite. I'm not saying he's not a great hitter. And I feel like he probably would have been. I mean, the thing is with the Mets, where are they going to put him in the outfield? Would left field have really been the best thing? And now the Mets are doing so many out of position signings and moves as it is. I get it. But with Kyle Tucker, to that, they would have signed him more for the bat than the defense. And for, the injuries that are coming with him and the fact that he was only a 260 hitter, maybe just the Cubs weren't the fit. But I just think $50 million when they could have. It's just the same thing with the Yankees last year with Soto. Like the Yankees, they almost had Soto, but if they got him, would they have made the moves for Max Fried? Max Fried and Devin Williams and other moves, maybe not. And Cody Bellinger. Excuse me. But I just think $50 million for Kyle Tucker, in my opinion, was a lot. Soto, Judge, Ohtani, those are deserving of it. Even Soto, you can even question, but I'm happy with Soto being on my team. But like I said, I think it was the Mets dodged the bullet because you see what they have now. After days later, and maybe 2 days. My mic muted. Even after a couple days after Kyle Tucker signs with the Dodgers, the Mets go after Bo Bichette, stole him away from the Phillies. Shocked everybody because usually the Mets are one at the laugh and joke at things. This time it was the Phillies. And then after that, days later, I thought I was actually with my friends Chris and Laura in the car. I saw the Jeff Passan alert. I was like, oh. I was like, what New York Mets trade for Luis Robert. I was like, okay. I'm like, what? I was like, all right, not bad. People love him from what I've seen in the comment section, what I've looked up on him, and we'll dive into that in a bit. But then the next day, which was yesterday, after the press conference of Bo Bichette, hours later, I see the Mets are in serious talks with Freddie Peralta. And then later on, I see the news, New York Mets have acquired Freddie Peralta. So the Mets came hot and handled. But first, I want to talk about the Kyle Tucker news because obviously that shocks everybody. So, and it's definitely, raised a bunch of concerns about how there should be a salary cap and the lockup of Denis. I want to hear your thoughts on the Kyle Tucker.
First and foremost, the day baseball died.
I know you're this is
borderline. I'm probably not going to watch baseball too much this season, if at all. I'm sick of it. Make a rule that 85% of a contract's AAV has to be paid. Because Bo Bichette is getting paid, what, $6 million a year? It's all deferred. The rest is all deferred. Kyle Tucker signed a $64 million
AAV
signing bonus, and he's getting paid $1 million this year. So even if they impose a salary cap, if this is the way teams are going to get around it, that's nonsense. So have it be a certain amount, 85%. I think that's being too nice. I think 90 is more reasonable. That's kind of your dynamic equilibrium.
Yeah.
But I'll be nice. I'll say 85%. So if Brandon signs a contract, 5 years, I'm trying to use small numbers because I'm not a math guy. 5 years, $100 million. Defer $15 million. And then the rest of that you have to get paid as your yearly salary. No ifs, ands, or buts. I think that's very reasonable. First of all, it stops teams from signing bad contracts. We've seen this with Bobby Bonilla. If you are, I'm not trying to beat on the Mets too much, worse than Bobby Bonilla, and it doesn't get talked about, Mets are still paying Brett Saberhagen from 1994.
Yeah.
So they're actually paying Brett Saberhagen, who's older than Bobby Bonilla, which is nuts. Brett Saberhagen was a bucket before he went to the Mets, but whatever. So it stops teams from making bad contracts. And two, it's fairer. It's fairer. How is a team like the Colorado Rockies or Cincinnati Reds supposed to compete with this? They can't. For years, I used to say the league needs a salary floor because you have too many bottom feeders like the Rays and the Marlins, both fish, lol, and the Guardians that are not even trying in free agency or not even trying to hold on to their players, but they could. I mean, the competitive advantage that the Marlins and Rays have playing in Florida. Could you imagine if the Yankees were in Florida? Bruh.
The Yankees.
Bruh.
Miami Yankees.
So you mean to tell me half the league is either from the islands or from the southeastern United States, and we're not even going to try? We're never going to try to sign these guys? Are you effing kidding me? You out of your mind? And you have no state income tax? The biggest thing working against the Yankees and the Dodgers is the fact that they got to kick up to the government. I digress. But if you're these other teams, you can't defer. Other teams could defer this money. No, they can't. The Dodgers ownership, Steve Cohen is rich. But let's not make any mistakes here. I'm not trying to keep bashing on the Mets. I just know what our audience is, Yankees and Mets predominantly. Steve Cohen is rich. The Dodgers are way richer. Why? Because they're owned by a conglomerate of Steve Cohens. They have $400 billion between them. They could defer money because their assets and companies and stuff like that are worth the amount of money they're going to be paying anyway. And if they sell the team, even better. So it's not really like it's not fair. It is not fair for
Yeah,
a team like the Dodgers to be able to do this. It's not fair. And I know people are going to say, well, the Yankees in the 90s, way different. Like I outlined earlier, the
is
Yankees,
it any different?
it's Brandon, we're comparing apples to pizza. Way different.
Apples to pizza.
The only similarity is they're both in baseball. The Yankees, most of their best players came up through the system. Otani, not drafted by the Dodgers. Freeman, not drafted by the Dodgers.
Tucker,
But Betts, not drafted by the Dodgers. Tucker, not drafted by the Dodgers. Glasnow, not drafted by the
Blake Snell,
Dodgers.
not drafted by the Dodgers.
The Japanese imports, I'll count as being drafted by the Dodgers. Any team could have gotten them. They all had an equal shot. But this, what separates them from these other teams that have bought championships in the past is they're also doing this with guys in the prime of their careers. Randy Johnson was completely washed up by the time he went to the Yankees. Well, I shouldn't say completely washed up, but he failed miserably for the Yankees. The only move that the Yankees did that I feel like is in a similar vein to what the Dodgers have been doing is the Jose Canseco trade, in which the Yankees knew the Red Sox really wanted Jose Canseco, so they overpaid for Jose Canseco, so the Red Sox couldn't get him. And because Canseco had very good historic numbers against Roger Clemens and Andy Pettitte. That to me is the same. But aside from that one move, it's way different. To be taking a flyer on someone like Darryl Strawberry, who the whole league thought was a cokehead and washed up, is a little different. And that's nothing against Darryl Strawberry or Doc Gooden, but that's the way the league viewed them. Well, if you guys aren't going to take a flyer on this guys because you're scared and you don't have the team culture to rein these guys in, why is that my problem? But to just be able to say, you know what, I'm going to give you a contract that's so bad, it doesn't matter if it's bad.
Okay.
That's different.
But yeah, I think I think you hit the hammer on the nail with everything you just said. Like I said, it's I just know where what's going on right now with baseball. It's everybody's worried now because from what I hear from people, like they worry that the Dodgers, like some Mets fans I talk to, I'm like one fan I talked to, like hey, what do you think of the Freddie Peralta? He's like, still probably going to lose to the Dodgers. That's kind of what he basically said to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's how everybody feels. It's like Dodgers, I feel like already have the odds-on favor. Like if you had to put the bet down, you probably would lose money if they're going to win the World Series. That's just what I feel like it would be. So yeah, just everything will come to. But I don't know. In terms of the Mets now obviously they've made the move to acquire the players they've had. Now in terms of Bo Bichette, I love the signing. I think it's if he's going to play third base, I'm hoping that's going to work. They're really confident that this is something that's going to happen. Now, obviously, I forgot who I was watching. I think it was on SNY. They were talking about how in Moneyball, I forgot which player it was, when they had to switch positions, make a move the first, basically saying basically said that switching positions, it's not that easy as it is. It's a struggle. It's not easy. It's like a catcher going out in the outfield, or say if that's a better scenario, or say if like the quarterback was the center. I don't know. I'm trying to think of some scenarios.
There's a lot of instances of going from shortstop to third base, though, and I think people are overrating how hard it is. And I'm not trying to say like, what do you mean? It's not. Manny Machado did it. A-Rod did it. Cal Ripken Jr. did it. Greg Nettles did it. So there's plenty of examples that I'm even forgetting. I think Scott Rowland started out as a shortstop, but don't quote me on that one too much. So many guys did the switch from shortstop to third that I think it's a little more doable, because shortstop is really demanding. Third base, it's just really how much is your reaction time, because you're in the hot corner. Most hitters are right-handed, so those line drives are coming to you. I think he could do it. Big thing that a lot of times guys shifting over have a hard time with. We saw this very much with A-Rod and Jeter. The range. Who's getting what? And if he can figure that out with Lindor, I think they're golden.
Okay. I think it's a great signing for the Mets just in terms of his hitting. He's a 300 hitter. And, I know Sean was getting at me the other day for it. I'm not saying he's like elite player, but he's an elite hitter, in my opinion. And obviously, I want to hear your thoughts on that too. He's a great player, and I think it's just phenomenal that the Mets get great hitting. And especially my thing on him that I've been saying all week is, what is he best known for? Runners in scoring position. Then that's along with the other Mets. So if the players that they sign, whether it's Marcus Semien, Luis Robert, just players that they've been signing. I want to try if I could find the stats. I save it on Instagram. No way, buddy, calling out Sean. Yes, I did call out Sean Jason. So all the signings that the Mets have been making, that's something that to me I've seen them struggle so much over the years with runners in scoring position. Yes, here it is. Okay, and shout out to NYM News, who I've talked to actually before. So Bo Bichette, he's 30 for 30 with career. No, he's 330 with runners in scoring position, and that's with and he's actually 310 with runners in scoring position with 2 outs. Okay, Jorge Polanco, 306 career runners in scoring position, 298 with 2 outs. So then you had Alonso and Nimmo. Alonso was 266 career runners in scoring position, 223 with 2 outs. Nimmo 286, and then 258 with 2 outs. So you tell me. I think the Mets overall got better with in terms of their offensive production. Now their main priority was trying to prevent run prevention, but I think in terms of their hitting, especially with Bo Bichette, what's going to matter most is when they're going to come up clutch and when they're going to need to score runs. I think the pitching got them too last year, but the offense wasn't doing anything better to help, in my opinion. So I love these signings because they're great hitters. And so hopefully that takes into effect. We're going to see it. Now, in terms of the Luis Robert signing, I think it's a great move. A lot of people saying it's a lot of upside, low risk reward, high upside, low risk reward. A lot of people saying that, since the fact that he was on such a terrible team as the White Sox, that he needed to go somewhere else. A change of scenery was needed. He needed to go somewhere where he could succeed. His potential can show. Because obviously what he did 3 years ago in 23, his All-Star year, it's been hard for him to kind of produce that. And obviously the AL Central champion 21 White Sox have struggled. He's the last one from that team. And obviously, the Mets thought they were going to try to get off to Cody Bellinger, and obviously that didn't happen. So this was a great move for them because now they have a center fielder, and it kind of completes the outfield. A lot of people also saying that Carson Bench is going to come up. But that's why I think on Bo Bichette and Luis Robert. I want to hear your thoughts right now.
Bo Bichette, I love for you guys. I agree with you. It makes your lineup a lot more balanced. Luis Robert Jr., high upside, really good base stealer, which is beneficial for the Mets. Problem is he's a glass cannon. The injuries are ridiculous.
The injuries, he's bad. They were
so bad.
But hopefully that can be different.
And if I'm the Mets, that is a huge concern of mine. And the reason why is, really and truthfully, down at the skinny of things, what is the Mets' biggest problem been? Injuries. You could say the bullpen, you could say the pitching staff, but what highlights those problems is the fact that Kodai Senga is perennially on the day-to-day. That doesn't help. Shamanaya, that doesn't help. When they had Jacob deGrom, that didn't help. Noah Syndergaard, hard to stay on the field. And do you really want that to let that wolf into your hen house? I'm not sure. The good thing is they have kind of fail-safes in place that hopefully those injuries aren't so bad. Like if worst case scenario, you can't play him, fine. You might be able to throw something together. I'm a little
right. No, hey, right.
Listen, you know me. I always root for a New York World Series with the Yankees winning. I'm a little weary. However, before all these recent moves, when they just had Polanco, after losing Alonso and losing Edwin Diaz, I thought they were going to finish 4th or maybe even 5th in the division. Now I think that they should be the favorite to win it. Overwhelmingly.
Okay. Wow. All right.
Atlanta is still tight. That's still not a team that I think you could just take lightly because they had one bad year. The Phillies are a tough team. I think the Marlins are going to be really frisky this year, and I think the Nationals are going to be frisky as well. I would almost kind of recommend anybody taking the over on all 5 of them to beat their win total. But I think the Mets now have enough X factors to put them ahead. However, bringing in Freddie Peralta, I still want to see more pitching. I know that sounds crazy.
Really?
Well, they're going to have Nolan.
Still want to see more pitching?
McClain.
I mean, to be fair,
You really think that Clay Holmes, only
I don't
getting
like
older, is going to be getting out of the 5th inning
I feel like Clay Holmes is going to find his way out of the rotation. I feel
back
like
into the pen?
I feel like they're going to somehow, some way. I mean, I don't know how he's going to do to start the year. Is he going to be like he was last year, where he was throwing 10 strikeouts and then he was managing to get the 5-6 innings? I'm not sure. I feel like he's going to find his way out of the rotation, maybe. And then if so far they got Christian Scott coming back off the Tommy John surgery, who knows? Maybe Senga can stay healthy. And then they got maybe the rotation comes up, Jonah Tong. I mean, but then again, he needs to kind of develop still. So, I understand your point. Maybe that's why they signed someone like Griffin Canning,
who got hurt. And it's like, it's like there's a lot of these things that's like, I don't know how they're going to hold up. I'm terrified for how they can hold up. It's like, well, we have Freddie Peralta, which is the right move. Like, I don't penalize, maybe it's the chess player in me, but I don't penalize people for making the right decision and it just backfiring because sometimes you're beat, whatever. Here's one for you. I don't want to wish this, but we'll talk through it. Freddie Peralta, pitch 1 of the season, blows out his elbow. What happens?
Sure,
That's a real question to ask.
It's true.
The rest of suddenly that rotation does not look good. So
this definitely was a move that the Mets needed to make.
Right.
Like,
I
was waiting for them. So many people were waiting. I feel like the definition of this offseason with the Mets, it definitely was a roller coaster. I think this was definitely something where a lot of people, like I said, people were calling for David Stearns instead. I was not one of those people. Was I unhappy when they let go of Alonso and Diaz? Yes. Those were the 2 people you can make the argument that they should have kept. Yeah, but we'll get to that. Those were the 2 people that I was furious about. One, because Diaz and Alonso are fan favorites. They were my fan favorites. But letting go of Nimmo and McNeil, I don't fault them for that. But what I questioned was, and I definitely think Stearns, what he has is a lot of patience. He knows the market. He knows how to work the system. He knows how the baseball, the business side of it works, and not just the baseball sports side, but also the business side. So I think he knew what he was doing. He was waiting. And I was, there's a reason why Steve Cohen brought him over from Milwaukee as baseball president operations. He had the credit of resume. So I was just trying to trust the process and trust what he was trying to do. I was not one of those people that were calling for him to get fired. Was I a little concerned? Sure. Yeah. Every Met fan was concerned, but I was not calling for his head. Now, as we've seen, they added the hitting and they added, I was waiting to see what it was going to do with the rotation. I was waiting. And I said in the baseball chat, I don't know if you saw it. I said, I'm waiting, and this was the move. This was a good move. And I'm hoping he can play this. He automatically is their ace. Nolan McLean, he's hopefully could potentially play up to an ace for the Mets one day, but not ready yet. I feel like it's too hot to say that right now. David Peterson, great southpaw, but I don't think he didn't live up to the expectation in the second half of the season, in my opinion. Kodai Senga, injuries, man. You got to fix him up, man. Sean Manaea, same thing. I think if he didn't get hurt, they probably would have made the playoffs, at least wild card round, because he was not healthy. He was not the same, and so obviously that cost the Mets. I'd like to see what Christian Scott can do. I remember he was doing not bad, and it's unfortunate what happened to him. He's definitely a forgotten man, but I'd like to see what he can do. Hopefully he can come back and he can be their 5th or maybe 6th starter. It depends. And if Clay Holmes I feel like they do have the depth, but overall I like the Freddie Peralta trade. I know there's a lot we can get into, but I definitely want to talk about football before we wrap up. But I could talk forever. I feel like this is the kind of vibe we're into today.
Yeah, I got nothing more for baseball. I don't want to beat a dead horse here. I agree with everything you said. It's just a matter of they have a lot of question marks, but at least they're mitigating the question marks.
I think like you said, they're a month or two ago, they probably would have finished maybe 4th or 3rd, or maybe even less. But I think the moves they've made, they've looked more competitive on paper. And I said on my story the other day, is April here yet? Now I'm excited. I'm ready, and I'm ready for the baseball season now. wasn't as hyped because I just the roster that was kind of set up. I didn't really have any expectations, but now I'm ready for baseball to come back. My fatigue, my stamina, my baseball stamina is back up. I'm ready. I'm ready for baseball season, and obviously we got to get through this blizzard that we're going to get this Sunday into Monday. But obviously we'll talk about that later. I know right now, football playoffs. This is first. There's a lot going on right now. We just heard the nominees for the award ceremonies. We were just going off today in our fantasy chat with that.
I have
But
to look
now
it up.
we, I know it's also championship weekend, so we definitely want to talk about that. A lot going on. So my thoughts right now on the Denver Patriots game. I like Denver. Put my money down on them. Obviously we've seen this happen before. 2017 Eagles starter goes down. Think their season is screwed. Nothing left. Nick Foles comes in. The rest is history. I don't need to go into it. Jared Stidham. He's not no scrub to me. Let me see the comments. Ready to get hurt again. Yeah, I know, Sean. I feel that. I feel that with the baseball, whether it's any of our sports. Trust me, I agree. I am excited for obviously the championship game Sunday. I like Jared Stidham. I don't think he's a scrub. My first memory of him is obviously one of the only few Jamal Adams interceptions, and no shade on Jamal Adams, but one of the only interceptions that he's had in his career was a Jared Stidham pick six in a blowout Patriots Jets matchup. Yes, of course. But I feel like I've seen some tape, and he's been with the Broncos for the past couple of years. And when I've watched him play, especially for the Raiders, he looked competitive. He looked decent. He didn't look like no Brady Cook. So I think that, and obviously the Denver defense is insane. It's stacked. There's a reason why they have the number one seed. So I think it's going to be a very intense matchup. Now, Drake May and the Patriots, they have a good coaching staff. And I get it. They had the easy schedule and all that stuff, but they're still a good team. Let's not deny that. And I think it's it's going to be a very, very intense game. I'm not going to say it's a blowout, but definitely it's must-watch TV in my opinion. So, like I said, in terms of devastating what happened to Bo Nix breaking an ankle. I broke my foot before. I don't know how he was walking on an broken ankle. He might have been on a very high adrenaline rush. So that probably why, and you can see on the sideline he's feeling it. I don't know how bad the injury was, but the fact that he was just walking on it, still playing, to me is mind-boggling to me. So, I hope he has an easy recovery, heals up, surgery goes well, and he's on track to play next season. But in terms of right now with Jared Stidham and the Broncos, I think they got a good shot. I have them going to the Super Bowl. That's my pick on them. But what do you think? Let's talk about that matchup. What do you think on them?
Before the season started, I picked the Broncos to go to the Super Bowl. When the playoffs started, I thought it was going to be Houston versus Seahawks. That one did not age well.
You were close, though.
I would say this year, our guy, CJ Stroud, was the worst playoff quarterback I've ever seen in my life. People will say Justin Herbert. I got into this argument with our buddy Josh the other day on my show for Old Westbury Web Radio.
I can imagine, because Josh,
and he got hot, and he thinks CJ Stroud is. He said they should have played Davis Mills. I agreed. Going into the second half.
Okay, I was going to say I don't know where he was going to go with that, because I know he's. I think
if they played Davis Mills in the second half, I think they win. But because he beat the Bills. Why not? So it's like I picked the Patriots to win their division. Before the season, I said it on here.
Yeah, you did. I remember it. I remember you said it. You definitely said it.
So I'm kind of torn between the two. And you want to hear something? Drake May's been getting away with a lot. He has not been playing very good.
No,
I got Broncos.
It's not been a good postseason. The defense has kind of carried
Broncos.
I think it's just been bad quarterback play, playing against Justin Herbert. And then obviously CJ Stroud. Like I said, the Patriots defense is no scrub. They're no scrubs. They're a tough-nosed, tough-edged defense coached by Mike Vrabel. But at the same time, the quarterback play has been very subpar and just awful, atrocious. Like, come on, man. It makes Zach Wilson look good.
Yeah. How many bites at the apple was Drake May going to get here? Really, he did not look good these 2 games.
No, you know what?
The Chargers defense is good. Texans defense was the best in the league. Fine.
The Texans were, even though CJ Stroud had his 5 turnovers, and even Woody Marks had a turnover as well, the Texans were still in the game, man. Like you said, because of Drake May's mishaps.
And again, really tough defense, but it's not like the Broncos are scrubs. Ramondre Stevenson and Henderson are very good running backs, but you're going up against an elite secondary in the Broncos. Their front line is not the best in the league, but I feel I'm pretty confident in the Broncos. There's another part of it where it's like, do you think Jarrett Stidham, he never thought he was going to get this opportunity, and he's waited this opportunity for his entire life.
Yeah, and he's
against his old team. Nobody is coming into Sunday more fired up in either locker room than Jarrett Stidham.
You know, him and Bo Nix were teammates at Auburn and now they're teammates in Denver.
Showed him around. Like this is his, you know, kind of Jarrett at Twilight moment. Like this is it. This is what he's waited for. So I'm rooting for the story, baby. Coming out of the East, come on, bro. Come on, bro. Come on. Get over it. Listen,
I think we're all in agreement that it's going to be all right. Flex the trophy. Of course,
there's a reason why I won this
trophy,
and that's because of one man, Jackson Smith and Jigba.
And that's going to be a great game.
Picking against him? You think I'm picking against the Seattle Seahawks? Are you out of your mind? Are you going Gleek the monkey on me? What are we talking about here?
This is the SportsShack mascot, Gleek the monkey.
Bro, we're going Seahawks. Seahawks over everybody, baby.
The Seahawks, I don't know, man. The Rams, they've been looking good. They traveled to Chicago, Soldier Field in 10-degree weather, and they showed out against Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, Chicago Bears. You know, I thought the Bears, that was a phenomenal game itself. You know, Caleb just throwing it up, and Cole Kmet was just right there. And then I thought they were running away with the game, but credit to the Rams for staying composed, staying focused, and just going out there and playing. And just, I think Cam Curl, I think that's his name. I know his last name is Curl, but he made a great, phenomenal diving interception right there. And then Harrison Mevis, who I saw in Jets training camp. I write for JetNation.com. And I was able to, I was able to go on the field and watch the training camp in person. And Harrison Mevis was on the Jets. He was competing for the kicking job, and he looked good. I said it in my training camp recap. I like Harrison Mevis. I thought he looked better than Nick Folk, but Nick Folk obviously had the experience and the competitive edge. That's how he won the job. And obviously being a former Jet, which, hey, you know what? I was not complaining. I love Nick Folk. Hopefully he comes back again. But either way, so seeing him kick in the playoffs like he did, that was pretty cool to watch and to see. Now in terms of this matchup, going to Lumen Field, it's brutal. I wouldn't say brutal. It's horrifying. It's scary. One of the loudest places. They literally caused an earthquake because of Marshawn Lynch and the Beastquake. And so, the way they're riding right now, that was a blowout against the Niners. The Niners had no shot. But credit to them for fighting. Matthew Stafford played at an MVP level. Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, fighting for a ring. Yeah, I agree. I agree with Sean just said right now. He said if Folk doesn't return, we made a mistake. Hopefully, the Jets have a history of not signing back players. I can go on for about that, but I don't want to beat a dead horse talking about the Jets. I've been wanting to comment too in chat. I know we've been talking about the Jets a lot in my fantasy chat. I've been wanting to say it. Like, can we just not talk about the Jets one day so I don't have to feel the main being a Jet fan? But anyways, but so Matthew Stafford playing at elite level, Puka Nacua, the Rams, and I think being coached by Sean McVay. I don't think it's going to be a blowout as people think. I think it's going to be pretty competitive.
This is the trilogy match, like a true trilogy, which I love in sports. You see this all the time in boxing. Great trilogies. Not anymore, really. Whatever. Different story, different day. But these two teams fought each other twice this season, and both games were very close. The first one was a 21-9 Rams victory. I forget which week. The Rams were home for that one. Matt Stafford actually did not play the best in this game. Only 130 passing yards, but Kyron Williams killed him on the ground with 91 rushing yards.
That was the game that Sam Darnold had 4 picks.
Yes. Game 2. A few weeks ago, overtime, Rams lose to the Seahawks 38-37, despite Matt Stafford having 457 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. And Puka Nacua had 225 receiving yards. Meanwhile, Jackson Smith and Jigba had 96 receiving yards. Sam Darnold, 2 picks, 2 touchdowns, 4 sacks, 22 for 34 for 270 yards. And Kenneth Walker had 11 for 100 rushing yards and a touchdown. If they can get to Matthew Stafford, I think the Seahawks could win. I think it's going to be a close game regardless. Both home teams have won at home when they played each other this season. Seahawks are home for this one. We'll see. But I think that front four has to get to Matt Stafford. Okay. They have to. I think if they win, that's their best chance. They beat them the first time, and Matt Stafford played the game of his life. Let's be honest. Seahawks, they got lucky. The best 2 players on the field were in Rams uniforms. They got to be better this time around. Get to Stafford, get to him early, and try to take Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams out of it. That's a tall ask. But
the defense is going to be the key for the Seahawks if they want to win this game. Mm-hmm. You just hit the hammer on the nail. I think a lot of looking back at the Niners Seahawks game last week, they caused a lot of turnovers, on defense, whether it's the strip sacks, the fumble. I think it was either Christian McCaffrey or Kyle Juszczyk that fumbled. And obviously Brock Purdy had a lot of, had a million. I think he had 2 interceptions. I know he wasn't perfect. So again, that Seahawks defense, that I had them in my other league. That's why I was the number 1 seed in my other fantasy league, and I didn't win it, but Seahawks defense was. I remember saying when I drafted, I'm like, why am I going to take Seattle's defense? It was one of the best things I did. So in terms of this matchup, obviously, Kenneth Walker actually, they don't have Zach Charbonnet. He tore his ACL, but Kenneth Walker showed why he is regarded as one of the best backs in the league. I know the whole season was kind of overshadowed in a way by Charbonnet and just the fact that Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith and Jigba, the passing game. But, Kenneth Walker's 100-yard rushing yard performance and 3 touchdowns, that was phenomenal. That can't get overlooked. Yep. So it's going to be interesting to see how they run the ball. Sam Darnold, and Rashid Shaheed turned out to be a great addition for that team from the trading deadline. So to me, I don't know how you'd go against the Seahawks, in my opinion. I love Matthew Stafford. I think he should win MVP because I want him to make the Hall of Fame. But like I said, I can't go against Seattle, which is the team that they have right now, and that's why I'm going with Seattle.
Long Island is going to be getting slammed with a blizzard this weekend, sadly. So we won't be going out for the game unless, of course, somehow, some way it misses us, which I'm praying for. So we can go out for the game so I can be wearing my Jackson Smith and Jigbo jersey because the Seahawks are going to take it, baby. So I got to load up on some drinky drinks.
Yeah, I know this blizzard is going to – that reminds me. I should get gas before work because I don't know how –
I got out of work last night at like 11:15. I went right to 7-Eleven, got a little fill them up.
I'm only saying this because I don't know how gas is going to be. Right. So and my tank is low, so I just want to be prepared. Because then you need your car. So I just want to make sure I'm prepared for just whatever in the future. Because then there could be no gas. We could have a gas shortage. Gas could be $4 per gallon
because it's going to be hard to import.
Exactly.
for your case, because people are thinking the same thing you are, gas lines are always crazy leading up to, nuts weather over here. You're probably better off going after work because I know your hours.
I just thought that too. After work would actually be much better. Late night at the Quick Check. That's where I've been getting my gas. And people saying you're addicted to Quick Check. You love Quick Check. I'm not addicted. If I was addicted to it, I would be there every day. I'm not there every day. I used to work there. I was a day one there. So I don't know. It's just a great store. I don't know. Because I remember working there, but that's where I get my gas usually. But this blizzard, I don't know. I just remember junior year one time going in one of the sumps, one of the blizzards, and we were sledding. I forgot who I was with. I know it was Muse, it was Ian Jostoffer. I was with Ian Jostoffer, and I think it was Ryan Heff. Those are one of the people I remember I was with when we did that. So that was cool. It's cool to do some stuff like that, but obviously safe and responsibly, But anything else in the sports world you want to talk about?
Congratulations, Indiana, for winning the football championship. They were such overwhelming favorites that I don't really think anything changes for them. Mendoza, you're probably going to be a Raider. Congratulations. There's talks that the Raiders are going to get Lamar Jackson. I don't know what you're trading to get him.
I don't think. Yeah, I think
that's fantasy world. When it happens, we'll talk about it.
I think that's just smoke. I think if the Ravens traded Lamar Jackson, all hell would break loose in freaking Baltimore and the Baltimore Harbor.
It certainly would. And real quick, I know the award finalists are out for the NFL. We can talk about that next week when the actual winners are announced.
It's going to be a couple weeks, but we can talk about it before. Actually, we can bring it up next week for sure.
Sure. Okay.
Hopefully, we can get Nicholas File on here too. But I think this was a great show either way. Like, we had the time, we got to sleep. This was a great day for sports.
Certainly was. Fun week. Long episode.
Yeah, no, we had a lot of content. There was so much to talk about, and I enjoyed it. So, and I had the energy for it. So it was not a problem. So when you're enjoying something, it goes by fast.
It certainly does.
So to everybody that listened in, I believe our good buddy Jason, great Islander buddy of mine, great buddy of obviously the Friends Per Round and obviously the Fantasy League too. Thank you, Jason, for tuning in. Sean Patrick Flanagan, I love you always. I don't got to say it. To whoever else that listened in and whoever listened in the future, thank you for tuning in. My name is Brandon Gerard Natali of SportsShack, along with Denis. You want to say yourself?
Denis Toohey, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Afternoon. Thank you, everybody, and to anybody in New York that's going to be here for the blizzard. Please be safe, responsible, and don't go out in the weather. Watch Championship Sunday. And go Hawks, go Broncos, Broncos country. Let's ride.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.
That was great.